We're rolling.
We're going?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. I think the first thing that we should say, actually, Nick, is that Zoe had never listened to I'm a Theme Park Fan
Okay.
until a minute ago.
Just now.
What a joy for her.
I know.
So she loved it.
It's in my head now, so that'll
Yeah.
be fun for this duration.
We'll get to who you are very shortly, but we always start off with the same question.
Yeah.
Zoe's going to ask it.
If you had free reign to create any coaster type with any theme, what would it be?
Any existing coaster type or create any coaster type?
Either.
Oh, no one's ever asked that
Yeah.
before.
You see, I've always wanted a roller coaster that suddenly, like if we took Nemesis and then suddenly it wasn't inverted, it was on a track,
Okay.
and then it was back to an inversion again. Or if you have a water coaster that's inverted or something silly like that. So I've always wanted to kind of twist that concept round. Combine the only theme, as I'm a horror fan, I would have to do something like in some massive gothic Transylvanian castle involving magic spells that cause the track to change. That's something that I would like to do, but it seems a bit impossible.
So you're thinking of a ride system that's both inverted and normal at
Yeah.
the same time?
And
Very
normal,
interesting. No, sorry, yeah, you know
Whatever the opposite of
down.
inverted is, because inverted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess one that can have a track on the bottom and then a track at the top, but I guess it wouldn't make much sense as a rider because you can't really see the track at the top or the track at the bottom. But it's kind of like the Mario Kart concept that's coming, isn't it? That the track disappears, and then
Right.
it works well for the spectator, i.e.
Yeah.
the person with the camera filming it free for social media when it flies over
Yeah.
the hill or whatever it is. So yeah, I just think that'd be fun if you kind of did something really surprising with a ride or an invisible track. You know, if which is really impossible, but
Yeah.
a trackless roller coaster. If we took that the dark ride concept and made a trackless roller coaster.
I like that.
We're not sure how that would work, but sure.
What is a
wish.
trackless roller coaster? That's your first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have a think about that
29.
one, Nick. I'll get back to you when I've invented it. Yeah, interesting. I like that. I think it'd be cool. I'm just trying to think. Have you heard of the Axis concept by S&S?
No.
Ooh.
It's I'm trying to now I have to describe it audibly, which we've done
It's a
before, and
spoon.
that doesn't help, Zoe.
I can
It's
look
a
it up if that will help.
Please look it up,
For those
and
of you
while you
not
do
in the
that, I'm
room.
going to describe it. Axis S&S concept, I guess, or coaster. So it's a 4D coaster
I hate it
where
already.
you what? Sorry.
Oh, is this the thing in Utah?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a 4D coaster where the seats obviously spin independently, but they're kind of attached at the back, so the two seats spin against this axis. And then using that, you could kind of get your sometimes inverted, sometimes not concept, but the only thing is that people would always be the right way up.
This looks like what could have been the Gringotts roller coaster, because
Yeah.
the Gringotts coaster in the film the Gringotts
Does that.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's very much kind of on this axis that's always balanced, and whatever
Yeah.
the track was doing.
That is so true. Oh, man. There you go. They need to redo that ride then.
Yeah.
Simple as.
Rip it
just,
out.
just rip it
Very
out.
disappointed.
Yeah. No, that's it's a really interesting concept. Yeah. You're right. It is exactly like that. I'm kind of blown away by that.
I know.
There you go.
I've been on for 3 minutes.
There's too much excitement, Nick. It's too much. We've got to stop now. Yes, there you go. That's a very interesting and unique perspective. Most of the time it's, I want a big RMC and give it a Taron theme.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we have that. You know,
Exactly.
we have big RMCs and we have Taron. We don't have roller coasters that change. Like we don't have hybrids
Yeah.
that change styles halfway through.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. For those of you who are listening who might not know who Nick is, Nick, do you want to perhaps sum yourself up very quickly?
Avoiding the obvious, I am professionally, I'm a composer in the theme park industry. They're not much at the moment, and I've been a lifelong adorer of theme parks and theatre and all the things in between. And I also do a podcast as well, a theme park podcast called the Season Pass Podcast, and a musical theatre podcast called Musical Talk. So everything is kind of blending into one in my world, which is fun.
I think Nick is our first podcast guest who's actually a podcaster.
Really? Have we had no one else on
I
from a
don't think
different
we've
podcast?
had another podcaster.
You never
on.
had Alex Crump on?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Alex.
Yeah.
Other than Alex, you're our first podcaster.
Well, when I started doing it in the UK, there weren't any at all, I don't think. There certainly weren't any that were regular. And as you'll work out in about 4 years' time, the hard thing with a podcast is keeping it regular and good.
Yeah.
It's great at the moment because we all have time to do wonderful episodes. But it's now everyone is doing a podcast, which is great.
Yeah, it's very much a fad, I feel,
Yeah.
at the moment. You know, it's the in thing to do.
Could say
But
it's a
as
theme
you said,
park
Nick,
fad.
there you go. But as you said, I think consistency is already a thing that people have struggled with.
Yeah, and I think that's what we try to do, because we used to be bi-weekly and now we're weekly, and we're still going. But I think it's just a fun way, because you can get into like such in-depth conversations in a way that you can't really do in any other medium.
Yeah,
So I
and
quite
also
like it in that respect.
The good thing is that you must always remember is, I know it's always in the back of our head, people aren't paying for this. So if you
Yeah,
don't want to
exactly.
do an episode one week, you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's great to be regular and it's great to put out the best product you can, but don't start pulling them metaphorically out of your rear end, because then the quality lowers.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you don't enjoy it, that's when it's time to say, okay, fine, I need a break.
Yeah.
But also you're lucky because you have I don't know if you guys live together, I hope you do. You're always going to have that other person to do a podcast with. And that's the hard thing. It's great with Skype and stuff, but nothing beats, face-to-face interaction.
And that's what was weird, because we used to not live together, and we did the podcast for like a year.
Yeah, a year
when
or
we
so.
weren't together, and it was hard to do it that way. But then as soon as we got here and we were actually face to face, it was such a weird, different way of doing it.
You
But
play off the reactions, don't
yeah.
you, as well? I feel like we've become much more argumentative.
We argue more.
Well, you can
Which
read
is
facial
good, though.
expressions and you know
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
when you say something and, Harry might wince or something, you go, okay,
Yeah.
what have I said wrong here? Then you have to have an argument about it.
That's the fun part,
Yeah, we love a bit of arguments.
It's very true.
But yeah,
Oh,
that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, your career's been pretty crazy.
It has. I'm always. I had to write a biography for myself the other week, and that's weird because I always forget not the sheer volume of stuff I've done, because there isn't that much, but the quality of the people I've worked for, which is great. And I know I've done a video for you about theme park audio, which was great.
Yeah.
And we did the live stream, which was really, really good,
did.
Harry. So well done with that.
Yeah, it was good fun.
That went really, really well.
Did you
So,
did you sleep well that night?
We did.
yeah.
When we got to
I,
bed.
I was dead for like the week after.
Yeah.
You do so much and you just completely burn yourself out.
Yeah.
Definitely had that. So, but it was totally worth it. The amount of people who got involved and were willing to be involved was fantastic. I didn't expect so many people would.
And then I got a message a couple of days later from my friend, the legend from In the Loop.
Yes.
He said, "Nick, do you know Coasterbot?" I went, "Yes." I went, "I'm very drunk, but we've raised more money than them."
Yeah.
And I kind of worked it out that in dollars they had, but probably not in pounds. What was the final result in the end?
For us, it was.
Nearly 2,300.
Yeah, it probably will be by the time
Yeah.
the
I think
super
we're on
chats go in.
270. So
Yeah, so 2,300, which is pretty
Yep.
crazy.
That's amazing. Well done.
That's mad.
I think 180 people have donated or something like that. So
Yeah.
the amount of people who were there and turned up was stupid.
Also, it just went really well. It was really fun.
It did.
So, yeah.
Well, technically it didn't. There's always.
Yeah, but we
everything always
recovered.
goes wrong.
We recovered.
I was very
Yeah.
impressed with your graphics and your swiping.
Yeah.
moments.
That's
Yeah.
what took us Harry, about a week to sort
Yeah.
out.
My live stream game was crap, and I have to say that I watched Kieran. Kieran from Jack Silverstone's
Yeah, yeah.
gang. I watched his live stream of us playing Rocket League, and I was kind of blown away by all these graphics. So instantly I started to look at how to do that. So, you know, that's the only reason that they were so good, because I was inspired to make them better.
Yeah, well, that's great. And now that you have those as a template, you can do more and more of them.
Exactly, definitely. Definitely. Already thinking about what we can do in the future and who we can get on, you know, bigger and better.
Yes. Nice knowing you. Bye.
Wow.
Okay. What do you want to talk about, Harry?
Don't ask me.
Don't ask me.
Ask Nick.
Let's go through kind of how you actually got into being an enthusiast. So, like, how did you originally get into coasters?
It's never been about coasters for me, especially as one gets older. It becomes less and less about coasters and more about sitting down a lot.
Yeah.
I always answer this the same way. I grew up 40 minutes away from Chessington somewhere in the 80s, and that was when it was turning from a zoo into the world of adventures. And you know, the Yoda of the theme park industry, John Wardley, was spreading his force all over the.
You make it sound so lovely.
I know, or Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of them. You know, he was turning. He was putting in the fifth dimension. He was putting in the vampires. Putting in Professor Burp's Bubble Works. He was putting in the log flume, and I didn't actually get to Alton Towers until I was 14. So that was, you know, the very late 90s when I got there. So it's always Chessington and Thorpe Park for me. Chessington was the grown-up park, and Thorpe Park was the baby park. Which
crazy.
Is weird to think of that now. Chessington, I remember when Samurai opened there, and the biggest thing Colossus got in my younger days, the biggest thing Thorpe Park got in my younger days was Colossus. Possibly X, WTF early on, but that was never a thrill thing for me. I used to love the octopus gardens and the kind of the spinning things. Fun fairs, I loved fun fairs. I especially loved ghost trains. I used to build my own ghost trains in my room. A story I like to tell is my friend Tom lived in a very tall house, and his mother wasn't very mobile, so they had a stair lift. So we would haunt the staircase up, and we had a ride vehicle, which was the stair lift as it went up.
That's cool.
Which would be quite good, I think.
Yeah.
Because you felt very claustrophobic, and like my friend stood at the top, and we had bats on strings that he would drop down.
I love it.
It kind of reminds me, I know there's a haunted horror house attraction in Japan where you're strapped to a wheelchair in a hospital and someone has to wheel you through, and spiders fall on you and things like that. So maybe
that does not sound good.
Yeah. Borrowed from that idea. Plus the thing is Wallaby Holland, where you get you get placed on a hospital trolley, and you get wheeled through a haunted hospital, and then you end up in hell, and fire blows up all around you, and you see your name in a morgue and things like that. So I used to love creating attractions and riding dark rides, especially. So coasters, the vampire was the first big thing I remember riding. Was terrified of it back when it was was it Arrow, the swinging cars?
Yeah, it would have been. The old kind of boxy 2x2 ones.
I remember going very, very early in the days of Professor Burp's Bubble Works when the boats were faulty and water rose up through the floor, which was a great effect.
That doesn't sound good.
No, but it added to the story.
I'm sure it did.
And a Phantom Fantasia at Thorpe Park, which then became Wicked Witch's Haunt. I remember my father dragging me through that, and I remember the entrance corridor being a green, kind of very dimly lit green corridor. And the Spirit of London Dark Ride, I remember being mesmerised by that as a child, and still am mesmerised by it nowadays. It's a wonderful achievement. But yeah, so not much about coasters. I didn't go on my first upside down ride until I was 14, and it was some part of Rubbish for Coma boomerang in France.
Lovely. Good start. Yeah.
So more of a theme park enthusiast rather than a
park
coaster.
fan, almost. One might say.
More of a a theatrical storytelling enthusiast.
Yeah.
I tried putting that into a song, but it doesn't really work.
No, I think stick to theme park fan.
Yeah.
It's much more neat. That's very interesting that you kind of grew up in the almost like the heyday of the amusement parks in the UK, or theme parks in the UK, I should imagine, or at least you got to experience that all of the earlier rides that people still reminisce about today.
Yeah, I wish I'd gone to Towers properly when I was, because I went when I was 14, but I was 13 actually. Didn't go on, so I didn't go on Nemesis. I think the Beast or the Little Beast or whatever the heck it was, at the end of Cred Street was there. And didn't go on that. I went on the Rapids, the Haunted House, which I was most excited for.
Yeah.
The Runaway Mine Train. I don't think I did Hex because I didn't know it. Would it have been there in 1998?
No.
So I didn't do it.
2000. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lovely trip, but Alton Towers, you had to be into the big scary rides to really do that park. And I never did Toyland tours. I never did Around the World in 80 Days. So the first thing I did in that area was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when I went in 2000 and something, 2, 3. But yeah, so Fifth Dimension was really the ride that got me into thinking, what the heck is all this? This is amazing.
So we should also ask, you've answered some of our other questions already, but the one that everybody loves to know is, what's your favourite ride and what's your favourite park? Such a difficult question. I don't know why we still ask each other this question.
The ride that still blows my mind in the park in the resort that still blows my mind is Indiana Jones in Disneyland Anaheim. And that whole Disneyland resort is just one of my most favourite places to be because of my connection with the Season Pass podcast. The guys that do that, they're all based in California, so every time I go there, we all meet up and we will spend 1 or 2 days at Disneyland. The first time I went to Disneyland, the second time I went to Disneyland, we got into Club 33 and had a lovely afternoon there. I've met some wonderful Imagineers there. I went to Imagineering the last time I went there and had lunch with my friend Rob, who's an Imagineer, and he showed me around. I saw the model workshop and things like that, which was amazing.
Very cool.
The Galaxy's Edge model and the Frozen Land model, and no photos, of course, and I respected that, but just to be in the town where it all started in Glendale and Anaheim and all these places you hear about in the Imagineering story documentary, it's just, that's my favourite place to be. The Indiana Jones ride, it is old-fashioned, but what I like about it is there are no screens, there are no 3D glasses, there's no virtual reality. You are in that temple as far as the rider is concerned.
Yeah.
And you got the 1.5 mile long queue. Everything is themed beyond, to within an inch of its life.
Yeah.
It's just the perfect 5-minute ride, and it's just nuts. It really is an astonishing achievement. And then you got Dinosaur. It's kind of the redhead brother, you could call it, in
Wow.
in Animal Kingdom, which is still fun, but it's not Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And that's a great example of how a theme can make a ride great, because it's the same ride, it's the same sitting in a car going round corners and being shaken around.
Yeah.
But Indiana Jones is such more exciting. I mean, I don't know if you love dinosaurs.
Not particularly.
Right. But
Don't know.
we all love going through a tomb, and
of course.
That's why the Indiana Jones adventure for me is one of the greatest rides in the world. But I haven't done Japan yet, so that's kind of my opinions might change in about 12 years' time when we're allowed to go outside.
Yeah, I gotta say that I mean, I'm not hot, or neither Zoe, on Disney stuff, right? And we watched the Imagineering documentary. I knew about Indiana Jones, as in I knew it existed, and I'd heard that it's very good. I didn't know anything about it until we saw the ride system and saw shots of the inside in the documentary, and it does look fantastic. Like
the bit that blows my mind is the fact that Disney moved walls to create an illusion.
Yeah.
And to create the feeling of going backwards, it still blows my mind. I get tingles down my spine when I even think about it, let alone when I'm riding it. And the fact that you're not going backwards, but your mind says you are going backwards, but all that's happening is the room is moving forwards. The room is moving forwards. That is the level Disney go to for story.
It is mental, yeah.
That documentary was so good.
It was very good.
It's a very good advertisement for Disney parks, isn't it? It's almost like you're paying Disney to advertise their products to you.
We had this argument when we talked about it on the podcast.
What's your opinion on that then? Do you think, I mean, obviously it's a very good series, but what do you feel in terms of...
the fact that Disney made it about themselves, right?
Was it too much in terms of, were they plugging themselves a bit too much?
Well, they don't need to plug their products because... they are the most popular theme parks in the world.
Yeah.
What I liked about the series, and it's a new route for them, because it wasn't made by Disney, it was made by an external documentary maker, I believe.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So what it did was what I like what it did was they admitted to faults. Mm-hmm. They said, we messed up. We messed up with California Adventure. We messed up with Superstar Limo. We messed up with Disneyland Paris, all that era, but we're fixing it, and it's going to be amazing, and here's why. Yeah. And what I kind of liked/disliked was that I would often feel a slight tear in my eye in most of the episodes because it's very manipulative. I blame Pixar for this, but it's very manipulative. What they know the tricks to make you want to cry,
of course,
which is fine. And I sat there because every Friday morning it came out. I would go downstairs. Those were the days. I go downstairs, have my cup of tea, and watch the documentary. And I just sat there thinking, right, what are they going to make me cry about this time? Oh, they're talking about flowers. Okay, fine. But that's they are the best storytellers in the world. They know what they're doing, and I don't think we've ever had such a detailed theme park documentary outside of YouTube.
I wouldn't even know where to start in terms of others.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward though to the Legoland one that's meant to be coming out now, but they've postponed it for obvious reasons.
Yeah, is that the one that's inside of Lego Land?
Well, no, it's inside of Legoland Windsor.
Yeah. Because that's a series, isn't it? That they go inside of.
Which I'm looking forward to seeing whenever that airs.
Yeah.
So, and I enjoyed the Wicker Man documentary very much as well. I thought that was a good direction for them.
More documentaries, please.
Yeah, they are very interesting. I that's kind of what we try to do with Coaster Butt is... I mean, the documentaries are great because you can always see behind the scenes and you learn about things that you never knew even existed. So we try and take, concepts of roller coasters that, the three of us might know, but perhaps the average person doesn't know, and try and teach them, like roller coasters aren't just these big metal machines, there's a lot more going on.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate them and would...
But the thing is, I've always had the issue with music documentaries. You get composers like Howard Goodall who'll sit at a piano on Channel 4 and talk about modalities and cadences and things like that. And I understand it, and a lot of people I know understand it, but...
I don't.
Exactly. So you're kind of dealing with two different markets here. It's very hard to explain to people, do people really care about what makes an inversion?
Yeah.
I'm talking in the roller coaster sense, not in the musical sense, and music geeks will understand that joke. But do people really care about, it's an Immelman? Do I care about, no, it just goes upside down and that's fun. So you got to kind of have that.
That's something that we said, because you were saying that you wanted more of the roller coaster stuff, but I said, I don't think most people really care about,
Yeah, I wanted more detail about some of the new additions that they were putting in. Like more gritty detail about perhaps ride systems and stuff.
Also, Disney have very little, I guess they have very little to do with the actual roller coaster design. That's always Vekoma or whoever like that.
That's true.
So it's more about what they do in-house with the Imagineering side, which is, to the public, the more interesting stuff. It's not, they...
Of course.
If it were a Six Flags documentary, God help us, you would have...
You'd have nothing else to talk about except for
his steel and a parking lot, and that's our feeling.
And what advertisement they're going to put on the side of the train.
Yeah,
to be fair,
not that we're
very exciting.
Bitter. But yes,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Imagineering series. I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to do another one, but
See,
I think
we were hoping they have perhaps already.
I think they have already filmed stuff because
Yeah.
they've done more like the Mandalorian. They filmed a documentary about making that series, so they've already got other stuff.
Yeah, I'm
coming
kind of
out.
hoping that the whole Star Wars areas they'll have a mini series
Dedicated
about them.
one.
You
Oh,
know?
I think the whole thing is going to become blooming Star Wars on Disney Plus for the looks of it.
Yeah.
But I think what they would cover is the hotel that they're building. I was surprised to see the cruise ship coverage. I completely forget about that, and all the Disney Store designs, because you always forget that's WDI as well. I don't think, obviously, a lot of projects are cancelled, paused, reduced, and they're not going to cover that in a documentary. Although it would be very interesting to see how, in the future, to see a documentary about how parks cope at this time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think everything is changing on a day-by-day basis, whether we'll see
For
another series of it or not. I'm sure we will. It's been massively popular. And that's the great thing about streaming services is they can tell instantly how many people are watching, when they pause it, when they fast-forward it, when they turn it off. So they have all this data at their hands to see what the hits are.
What works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
There you go. I think one last boring question that everyone always wants to know.
Question.
They are boring
Yeah,
questions.
they
I
are.
always find that just chatting is much more interesting, but I think people would have be very
We've got
upset.
to know these things
It's
before
true.
we can carry on.
Simple question: bucket list parks and rides.
I think
Yeah.
it has to be.
I think I know what you're going to say here.
I was hoping to get to Energylandia this year.
Okay.
I want to get back to Europa Park, but I guess that's not a bucket list park. I'd like to go to Cedar Point again. Now I'm a bit older, and there's a lot more stuff there, and it won't be 19 million degrees like it was last time I
when
went.
did you visit last?
Topfield Dragster was new, so that will give you a clue. As to,
Wow, what's that? 2003?
2000 and something, yes.
3, I think, maybe.
Possibly 4 or 5
Sure.
around then. It wasn't brand
Yeah.
new; it was the new
Oh
thing.
right, okay. So yeah, 4. Yeah. Slightly after that then. Wow.
Disney Sea, I think, is
Yes.
the kind of, if I could, I would do the Asian tour that our friend and saviour Lord Sandbrook did. But more, I don't know enough about the European parks. I with the Europa Park trip, we were going to go to Tipstrel as well, which just looks fun and cute. And
It really does, doesn't it? It looks so humble. A really humble park. I'd love to go there.
Australia is not something I'm interested in because it's just too far away for me. I'm happy with the American parks I've done. I'll always want to go back to Disney World and Disneyland and
Of course.
Universal and things. I'd like to actually Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. You can add to that list.
Oh yeah, it's up there for me as well, for sure.
But that's it. That's it. Kind of really. Just I think if you put pressure on yourself to do things, it becomes less about the spontaneity and more about I have to do this and I have to do that, and then you get disappointed when you can't do it.
Yeah.
So I think one thing I've learned in this time we're in at the moment is just kind of slow down and by all means plan a trip, but don't go nuts. I mean, you have to if you're doing a massive road trip, but I'm too old for that crap now.
Yeah, I look at some of the trips that, as you said, Mr. Sean Sandbrook's done, and a friend of mine, Taylor Bybee, does trips all the time. And
Hey, Taylor.
the length and scale of those trips just seems borderline ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah, but that's a very
not a
American
holiday, is it?
thing to do, is they will travel 3 hours to drive to work.
Yeah.
That's normal
Yeah.
for them, whereas 3 hours to us is we'll drive that for a 3-week holiday and be tired.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
But yeah,
as you
I
said,
hope that
it's
answers
not a
your
holiday.
bucket list rides. Steel Vengeance, I think, is
Fair enough.
certainly one of them. Mystic Manor, Pirates of
Yeah.
the Caribbean in Shanghai,
Yes.
Revenge of the Mummy in Universal Studios Singapore. There's a theme here, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Tron, whether
Tron.
it's in
Sure.
Shanghai or hopefully soon to be in
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom. Just the kind of new big things that seem cool, if you know what I mean.
Definitely. I think, you're right. There's, just listening to your answers, especially about the parks, there's almost too many. Well, there is too many, right? This is it. There's too many for any one person to go to every single one. And I think you're right. You kind of just have to play it by ear and see what you're going to do that year, rather than trying to plan out the next 10 years and go, I need to get to this park. You know?
The thing is, because there's always going to be something new.
Exactly.
So either you lose a ride, like I never rode Thunder Looper, but I did get whatever replaced Thunder Looper. What was it, Rita? So it's kind of the best of both worlds. You get the trip eventually, and you get the new thing. You might get a surprise. So just
you could spend forever waiting for the perfect moment to go to a theme park, especially with places like Energylandia, where they're just seeming to add a new ride every 5 seconds.
I mean, it's like waiting to buy the new computer or the new iPhone.
Yes, it literally is. Isn't it? That's exactly
It just do it if you can, and if you can't, you'll get it one day and it will be the new thing.
Definitely.
And this is what's so frustrating me about the American. Sorry to get boring here, but as you say, these are the boring questions, so it's time for some boring answers. But how they're so desperate to get back into the parks, and you see the queues of people. You know, with the minute Universal Studios open, the City Walk, there are people queuing to go to a shop.
It is a bit mental, isn't it?
It's like just slow down.
I mean, they're not knocking them down, are they? So it's not like they're not going to be there when it's safe to go back out.
Especially those big parks as well.
You
know,
but there's such a sense of
survive.
entitlement with the people. Like, I have to be the first person here so I can put it on Instagram and stuff like that. It's like, oh, fine, whatever.
Yeah. Even if the UK parks open soon, we're still kind of like, I don't know if we should go. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard.
It is hard. It really is.
Because you want to support, but then also I don't really see how we can at the minute social distance in a theme park, you know?
Well, it's the same with the theatres, is that it's worse in the theatres because the whole concept of it relies around intimacy.
Yeah.
Whether you're a performer or a musician or a dresser or a sound tech operator or, the thing about theme parks that we've always hated is crowds.
Yeah.
So in a way, this is going to be the best time to go to parks because there ain't going to be no one there, and there's going to be no queues.
Yeah. And
the queues that will be there, they'll all be effectively under fast pass situations. One hopes. So it'll be very interesting to see how it does happen.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I do want to go is just to see what it's all like.
Yeah,
the new system.
Yeah, just because it's going to be so interesting to see what kind of things they implement and how this might potentially have a knock-on effect on the industry moving forwards. You know, if all of these parks
as a kind of social experiment, it'd be interesting to see how it works.
Exactly. If all of these parks are putting in virtual queue line systems, temporarily, who's to say that future editions might just use them permanently?
Yeah.
We've already seen Volcano Bay be completely queue line-less. So it's definitely in the realm of possibility that
the people in charge of Fast Track won't have much to say about that.
Well, you can still fast track a virtual queue.
True, yeah.
I guess.
Just implement it straight into the system as well. Yeah, I don't know. I think this could really push things forwards.
I mean, in every sense of like the whole world, in everything, not just theme parks. It's just such a massive difference.
Was it like working from home and being able to kind of communicate from a distance rather than being in the office?
It's just mad. It
is mad. Anyway, let's move on from that. We don't want to date this too much. We've talked about rides, which is a boring part, I would say, for yourself. There's much more interesting conversation to be had about you and composing theme park audio. Let's start with some of your favourite ones that you've done. I think I know the answer personally, but
what do you think the answer is?
The fireworks.
Yeah.
At Oakwood.
It's always difficult to answer this question because I'm very proud of everything I've done. My favourite project is the one I'm working on at the moment.
Ooh.
And I don't mean to say the one I'm literally working on at the moment. I mean the one that is in my head.
Oh, right,
as something
sorry.
that I'm
Yeah.
kind of creating, because it's when it's the most exciting it can be.
Of course.
Things I'm proud of, certainly the 2 fireworks shows at Oakwood, because it's 2 fireworks shows. You know,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
about the music, and it is about
Totally.
you know, everything else being tied to this silly trance track that I created, or this silly Disney rip-off track this Disney inspired track that I
Inspired is the
created.
key word. Always inspired, you know.
But recently, the Tomb Blaster redo is going back to the beginning of the chat. The Fifth Dimension was the ride that got me into this whole industry. So to step in
I bet that was great.
stamp all over Tomb Blaster was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. You've ridden the, obviously the updated version. What do you think about it?
I think, considering the time we had, it's very, very, very good. It's a breath of musty, creepy air that has now made its way into the tomb. I lived that ride for about August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. For about 8.5 months.
Wow.
We are working on that.
Yeah.
And of course, I will never know what it's like to go in there not knowing what's going to happen.
Of course.
I'm not the one to say what I think of it, but I am very proud of it, because it's something that a lot of people, whether it was Brad from Sana or Andy Porter from Merlin Magic Making, or me, or the other tech geniuses who were running around at 3:00 in the morning on site.
Nice.
You know, so much work went into that, and people, for the limited time it was open,
Got good reviews from what I saw.
they absolutely loved it. We had people, and it's a ride that it was so, you know, you are the hero on this ride, and that's what it kind of lost, I think, because there was no feel of threat in the attraction. So
Not
you
at
have
all.
to make it a bit scary,
Yeah.
so that the kids, when they come off it, they feel like they've actually done something. As opposed to sitting in kind of like a very illuminated Christmas tree set in an Egyptian tomb. Yes, we were bold. We have made it darker. We have made it scarier. We turned a lot of the targets off, which I know the fans have been clamoring for it, but it makes so much sense as regards the story.
Yeah.
You know, why is there a target on a random wall that isn't anything dangerous? What are we actually shooting? So, you know, people are saying it's now the best dart ride in the UK, and it's now, you know, their top dart rides in the UK, which is great. But it proves that it was always there. The sets are stunning. They are really, really detailed sets, and we've just refocused the lighting, obviously changed all the audio, and we've added a narrative to it, which is what it you know, it's all about a narrative. It's like theatre and film. It has to have a story. And now it does, and hopefully everyone will be able to go and experience it soon. Because that was a sad thing. It was only open for about 3 days.
Yeah. I mean, Chessington is a park that I'm not all that familiar with. I think I've been to twice. And one of those times was for an hour and a half.
Oh.
When we were biking
On your way to
between,
Thorpe Park.
Yeah, when we were biking between all those places. So I was looking forward to this year getting to Chessington and riding some of the updated versions, because we haven't done the
Gruffalo.
Gruffalo,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Haven't done that, and I thought that looked really good. Then the Room
Room on the Broom. Yep.
The
Yeah.
broom.
Then Tiger Falls.
Tiger Broom.
That's the one.
Yep.
That one. Yep. I'm really good at these names, as you can tell.
Well,
Yeah.
they'll still be there when the park's open.
Of course,
So this is what
and-
we're saying. You know,
yeah.
just relax. You're going to get on them.
Yeah. Totally.
And it's I think it's a lovely park. I think it's the best theme park in the country, because it really has a direction of where it wants to go. It has all the
Yeah.
animals. It has the sea life. It has apparently the best dart ride in the UK now, and it has Dragon's Fury is a great roller coaster. Vampire is a great roller coaster. Rattlesnake is a roller coaster.
It is a roller coaster. I agree. Yeah.
And, you know, it has Room on the Broom, a great walkthrough. the Gruffalo, a great dark ride. Toon Blaster, a great dark ride. It's just a park that's full of surprises everywhere you turn.
Yeah, it does seem like they know what they want moving forward.
Definitely.
All of the kind of... I'm glad that they've been improving the rides instead of, just perhaps neglecting them and building new ones. It's nice that they're going back, improving things and kind of raising the whole bar of the quality of the park, because I think that's a really smart move in terms of your overall experience you have,
It's lovely, and to do Toon Blaster was just the biggest dream come true, because that ride, whether it's Fifth Dimension or Terra Tomb or even Toon Blaster, in its first stage, it was so important to me, and it was an honour to go in and kind of... The funny thing is, it's my first ride that I've worked on. I've been doing this for 6 years, and it was my first ride. So for that to be my first... And it's so complicated, because you're dealing with a train that is quite long, and, if you want to get slightly technical, the more people in the train, the slower it goes.
Of course.
So you need to work out the timings of all these tracks of music so it does tell a coherent storyline, so you're not left with any dead... sound zones and things. And I think we did it. It was very complicated, but incredibly rewarding and joyful. In fact, I thank Chesington for letting us do it.
We actually had a question from Coaster Experience who said, would you like to give Jewel the Toon Blaster treatment? What would you fix and add?
Well, I personally wouldn't, because Jewel has had recently new music put into it, which works really well by Simon Allen.
I agree, yeah. I think it's mixed feelings, I feel, about the music, though. But I don't know whether that's just because people are so nostalgic towards the old stuff.
Maybe.
Well, funny story. When I was 18, I had a singing teacher, and if anyone's ever heard me sing now, you'll realise what a rubbish job he did. But I said to him, I want to do theme park music, and he introduced me to this chap. He gave me his... I think it was an email address back then, and I emailed him, precocious 18-year-old, saying, I want to do theme park music. I heard that you've done stuff. So he said, yeah, come over and have a cup of tea. So I went to his house, and he played me his music that he had done for Jewel, The Haunted House Strikes Back, and Toon Blaster, and stuff for kind of... like the drop ride at Gardaland, or the Flume at Alton Towers, and just with the ducks quacking, all done to Disco Inferno by the Tramps and things. And he gave me a CD and said, "Here, have this." And I haven't yet told him that I've replaced his music with my music at Toon Blaster, but Dave's stuff for Jewel was good. I've only ridden the new version once, and it was at Scarefest. I enjoyed it. I don't shoot on the ride, so I was listening to it. But I think it could, whether I did it or not, I think it could benefit from the targets being looked at and the lights being refocused, and just did what we did with Toon Blaster, which was put it back to its glory days while still having a shooting element, because we all like shooting on the rides. Well, I don't, but some people do. It's just too tiring.
It is.
To have a lie down after that wild mouse, that mouse so chocolat thing.
Oh, rubbish ride. It's disappointing. You walk through the queue line and the station. It's all these nice sets, and then you get on the ride, and you're like, "Here's a screen for 5 minutes."
Yeah,
and we're going to show you about 12 of
them. That lovely ride idea.
Yeah. So it's a bit painful. No, that's pretty cool though. Pretty full circle that you end up replacing.
I know.
Some of it.
But he's now working in Hollywood. I'm not. So
there you go. It's okay then. Makes up for it.
We actually had a lot of questions about how you got into the industry, and also kind of like how you do create your music and that kind of side of things. So I don't know if you had anything to say about that.
How I got in the industry. It's a really funny story that I think I've told already with you guys, but
we spoke about it on the stream, I think.
Who won't know it, because of my podcasts, the theme park podcast and the musical theatre podcast, this is two worlds massively colliding in my favour. I was interviewing on Musical Talk my good friend Dominic, who's also from Devon, by the way. He was starting to do episodes for us. He was working for a company called Sudden Impact Entertainment, and a chap called Linton v. Harris. Now, the real theme park experts among you will know the name Linton Harris because he designed many scare mazes for around the world, but the UK ones he did were the Freezer, the Asylum. I think I was getting a bit confused at which is which because they're effectively the same thing, but the original Terror of the Towers at Alton Towers. Okay. He did the original scare maze at Madame Tussauds in London. And Dominic also worked at Chessington, fun enough, when Terror Tomb opened as a performer. So Dominic was in the theme park world, but he was also helping me out with musical talk episodes, and we were chatting. And he worked for a park in Malaysia called Sunway Lagoon. And I said, would you ever need any music for anything? He said, yes, we're actually doing Halloween. So if you want to do some stuff for our Nights of Fright, do that, which I did. And then I did something for an attraction called Cleopatra, which was an edutainment walkthrough attraction based on the story of Cleopatra. And then I was starting to interview John Wardley for the Season Pass podcast. And I said to him, I've done some stuff for parks, but I want to get into the UK market. Would you be able to help me out with that? So he said yes, and he sent an email to a chap called Pete Cliff, who was staying in Orlando at the time with another Imagineering friend of mine called Lon Smart, who also told Pete Cliff to use this guy called Nick. So suddenly Pete Cliff was getting hounded at by people, by John Wardley and this wonderful Disney Imagineer illustrator called Lon Smart. So he said, who the hell is this guy? So he shot me an email. And then we did Scarefest together. So we did Subspecies and Molly Crow and things like that. And that led to Pandemonium at Chessington, which led to like other random projects around the group. And the funny thing is, I just think it's hilarious how they were both, rambling on about, to use me. And very nice indeed. And then through Sudden Impact, we did 3 Ghostbusters attractions. We recently did a Sharknado attraction, which Linton v. Harris was on Shark Tank in Australia talking about, which is their version of Dragon's Den, which is quite amusing. Oh, right. So yeah, they're the 2 people that I can happily say that John Wardley got me properly into the industry, and Dominic, of course.
Crazy.
It's mad.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? How all these sudden fortuitous meetings can lead to such lovely careers.
Definitely. Yeah. We had questions from people. Kind of, what's your best piece of advice for beginners who want to enter the industry in the same way that you did? Don't do it.
No,
come on, you're meant to be inspirational.
I think it's always risky with the freelance stuff because the worry in the back of your mind is where's the next gig. But if you have the passion and if you have the knowledge and you need the ability to completely kill your children, and by that I don't mean you need to be a serial killer. I mean that you have to, if you do something that you spent 17 days on and it's the best piece of music you've ever done, but it doesn't work, you cannot get defensive about it. And this applies to theatre writers as well and script writers and every, when you're writing for something bigger than yourself, you have to just say, okay, fine, get rid of it, it's gone. And then you will do something better because you'll listen to that original draft in a year's time and think, my God, that really didn't work with what they wanted. It's so collaborative, all these industries, and you have to go in knowing that, and you will create a better product for that. It's also very, very difficult to work in this industry because it is a creative industry.
Yeah.
You can be very successful in it. We're always still learning. And just we are now very lucky to have all these people at a mouse click at the end of an email, the end of Twitter, especially right now when there's so much lovely creative energy bubbling up around the world because we're all, stuck indoors with ideas. As Harry and I know, it's so yeah. You just have to be prepared to make sacrifices, creative sacrifices. Recognize the fact that you are not the best. There are people better than you, and there are people that will look up to you. And just be nice, be helpful, be polite, and Yeah, I hope that's the advice I can give, because my way into the industry was incredibly unorthodox. So I can't speak for, how to help other people do that. But, I'm a school and I are not going to be around forever. So we're going to need more composers in the future.
Definitely. Well, it goes down to the whole, competition is a good thing for everyone.
Yeah.
Kind of lane, which, improves the standard of what people are doing and can make them more accessible for everyone. So
yes, I mean, I think it's you've got to put yourself out there. But the reason people like working with me, I've been told, is that I get how rides work, but I also get how music works, and I get how storytelling works, and I get how theatre works. So it's all those things coming together, which is why I will do music, yes, but I also will write the script for WWTP for Fright Nights.
Yeah.
And you're juggling so many things, and then I'll voice the demon in Tomb Blaster, and then it's so many fun things, and it is the most fun job you can have as someone who likes creating theme parks, because I'm not an artist, I can't draw, so this is my way of painting the audible canvas.
If you ever need another voice, Nick, you know who to call.
I do.
This guy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything. I think it'd be really funny to just hear my own voice at a theme park one time. I think it'd be great. I don't know. Just
what is
interesting.
lowering your restraints?
Yeah, exactly.
There
What
you
could
go.
you voice?
There
You
you
could
go.
only do something like that. The
no.
instruction. You could be on Galactica. That's the
Eve does
ride
it so
you
well.
could be on.
So Eve does it so well. There's no point. I don't need to. Some more questions for people. Silverette says, do you listen to theme park music outside of theme parks? And if so, which soundtracks? And I'll probably make that instead, like, do you have any favourite soundtracks that you haven't produced in terms of the theme park music world?
There's a composer called Gavin Greenaway who did 2 tracks for Epcot. I think I mentioned this in the live stream, which I've listened to on and off for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
One of which is the Illuminations soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which very much inspired me for the first fireworks track for Epcot, because it's one of the greatest firework shows ever. And the other one is Tapestry of Nations, which is just this kind of, I don't mean trance in the glow stick waving music. I mean it's kind of hypnotic, this track. It's 25 minutes long, and it just kind of, like some sort of minimalism style, it just kind of builds and grows and dips, and it's really, really calming piece of music. I love the Happily Ever After soundtrack from Magic Kingdom, even though it took me a while to get into it. Musically, there's a lot going on there. There's one great moment in the jazzy friendship section where you got 3 Disney songs all layered on top of each other. I love, Silverette will like me for saying this, I do like a lot of the Efteling music.
There you go.
I like the Phantom Manor soundtrack is one of my favourites of all time. I will happily listen to the Hex soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't listen to music for joy, which is something that always surprises a lot of people. I listen to it when I need to study a kind of music. I don't find music relaxing because, well, I know it goes against what I said about, there are... I listen... I won't have the radio on in the background because, it's often... People say, I'll have the radio on when I'm working. And I said, well, that really wouldn't work for me.
No,
Distracting.
Of course,
I listen to podcasts when I'm out and about, if I'm on the tube. Coast Radio Season Pass, you guys, I grew up listening to audiobooks, so that's kind of that really does relax me. But yeah, they're the kind of main, a lot of the Disney stuff, because they are the best in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, stuff like that, really.
Fair enough.
We also had a theme park question from James. What UK park would you say could benefit from a new investment the most?
See, I haven't been to many of the UK. I think, and I don't know why, I know this goes against the question slightly, but why isn't there a Legoland in Edinburgh in Scotland? Or why isn't there anything in Scotland? I mean, you've got M&D's, but my point still stands because they're sadly
Maybe the weather.
struggling.
Well, perhaps it's
too cold.
Well, you could argue population density, but then there's so many theme parks in the Netherlands, and they're not exactly a huge country in terms of population. Then weather, but I'm sure Scottish people are resilient to the weather.
Yeah, true.
Maybe it's just the kind of economic situation
I guess
that we're in.
because why is there 3 parks right near London, all in the same place?
But then it's people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Such
And
a high
location.
density of people. Yeah, and location. But near Edinburgh,
Yeah,
dunno.
true.
It's a good point.
So I would say something like Lightwater Valley or Pleasurewood Hills, because it's especially now. I know I bang on about now, but we have to. And by now, I mean if you're in the future, the kind of lockdown situation we're in is going to affect a lot of the leisure industry. We have to think of these family-run parks because they're the ones that we have to support. You know, we're all looking forward to Towers and Thorpe and stuff, but it's go to your Oakwoods, go to your Lightwaters, go to your Pleasurewood Hills, go to... they're the ones that could do, you know, if I were to distribute a massive money pot to the parks in the country, it would be those kind of, the parks that need it.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, to make sure the staff are looked after and to make sure that everything's safe for the guests and things. And I think... You know, because they can come up with great rides. Look at, is it Raptor Attack?
Yeah.
I've never done it myself. I'd like to.
Neither have I, sadly. Haven't
you
been
know,
to Lightwater.
why not
yet.
RMC the ultimate? God, imagine that.
Don't do that. I think there's a certain point when rides are so bad that they have to be kept that bad just to show that
It
they're
only
bad.
applies to ghost trains.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I will never forget my first ride on the Grand National, and neither will my back.
This is it, right?
Same.
There's a certain point where it's like, you just got to keep this around so people will know what it was like.
Does the train lift off the
pain.
track at some points? It feels like it.
Probably.
Yeah, I imagine it does. Either, you know, probably not by forces, just because of how janky the whole ride is. You know?
Square wheels.
Yeah, but this is it. No. Yeah, I agree, though. The smaller parks could definitely do with something. It's going to be trying times for them, isn't
I mean,
it? Over the next...
I know that's a very obvious answer, but yeah, sure, give a massive symbolic Star Dark ride to Thorpe. Just to make everyone happy.
That's the answer people want, isn't it?
Well, to be fair, if you did that, I'm sure people probably wouldn't be happy. Everyone craves a roller coaster at Thorpe Park, don't they?
Okay, well, give them an RMC, but make it a
give them
dark
an
ride.
RMC.
I'd like
That's
a hypercoaster,
correct.
please. Not an RMC because they're unreliable and bad capacity. I'll have
Just
a
lost
B&M
every
hypercoaster.
American visitor, every American listener now.
Don't worry, Nick.
We never had
The
him.
previous podcast episode was about RMC, and unlike everyone else, we spent a good 40 minutes just going, RMC have bad trains, they've got bad capacity. And I don't think many people enjoyed that one.
No, we got a couple of thumbs down for that one.
Sometimes you've got to give the other opinion, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know?
We love it.
No one learns anything.
Exactly. You've got to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to end with our final question, which we asked everybody, and I might change it actually because it is if you had to pick one coaster to be your last ride ever, what would it be? But I think ride is more applicable to yourself.
Now, are we saying this ride is the ride that will kill me, or is
Yes.
this just
As
the
soon
one
as you
that
ride it, you die. As soon as you get off it, you're dead. I'll let you exit the attraction, so the
Okay, so the
exit
ride
corridor.
doesn't actually kill me.
No.
So
It's your
there
last
is-
few minutes.
God, what a stressful ride it would be.
It's true.
We'll
isn't it,
only
actually?
tell you after you've ridden it.
Okay.
It's a good point. Never really thought about that.
Yeah.
I would
stress.
probably be boring and go against what you just said, but probably steal Vengeance because it just looks insane, and
Yeah.
if it's as good as it's meant to be,
Oh yeah.
you know, what better way to suddenly find out you're going to die than by going on?
Yeah. What is arguably the world's best roller coaster?
Yeah.
Apparently so.
Yeah. No. Hats off to RMC. I mean, we're only just trying to play.
I don't
devil's
know, or Infusion or something, because you know, death is it can't be as bad as that ride.
There you go. That you upset some Infusion fans.
Sorry,
the one or
not
two knocking around.
just Infusion. I mean every Vekoma SLC. in the
Yeah.
world.
Right,
A
fair
combination of all of them.
There you go. Sounds awful. Anyway, thank you, Nick, so much for coming on.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Yeah.
It has been very interesting again to talk about something a bit different, you know, than just theme parks.
Yeah. As well as.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me, and I hope, coming again soon.
Yeah, where can people find you in terms of social media and stuff?
Twitter, Nick Hutson Music, Instagram the same, Facebook the same, YouTube the same. I'm up to like something random. I know it's pittance to you, but for someone who puts no videos out, I have 788 subscribers, which is hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know, I put some of my music on nickhutsonmusic.com. Wherever you want. I'm you know, just say hello. Hope you enjoyed it.
Give them a follow.
Yeah.